Hello there. I felt I needed to make this video as soon as possible, even though it is pretty late, because let me get this adjusted. I just went and saw Alien Romulus, right? And I guess the best way I'll structure this video is I don't want to spoil too much, right? I might do a bit of spoiler stuff at the end, but in this first half, I just want to give a general opinion overview type stuff. You know what I mean? The movie was good, right? Compared to a lot of the trash we've gotten in the past couple years from Hollywood, right? I think it was pretty good. Um, and since they were showing a lot of the Alien movies on TV today, things like Alien Resurrection were showing, and so much of that was low quality, like honestly D tier, when you're watching that movie. Some of the characters are just like so hyper or macho aggressive and panicking but not doing anything. You know what I mean? Like it was pointless reactions, and pointless actions taken in general with that movie. But here in Alien Romulus, there was sort of just a reason for everything. It felt more natural, with a couple moments feeling like, okay, like did you really have to do that? Um, of course, just kind of pushing the plot along. I think every movie kind of has that, but here it was not terribly egregious, in my opinion. But modern Hollywood, what are you gonna expect? That's why I say it was just good, not the greatest. Certainly better than, like I said, previous things from Hollywood, but specifically this franchise. I think it was pretty decent, especially since you can tell they were trying to really capture the essence of the original. They really were trying, with the opening, with some of the pacing and the end. Like, just overall, you could tell they were trying to capture the original film's feel. And they partially succeeded, you know? If I had to say something about, like, the general action versus horror aspect, because you have the two sort of sides of the coin with Alien and Aliens. One's a more slow paced, suspenseful horror film, the other one's a more action packed, you know, horror action film hybrid. Uh, the two feels of those films, Romulus is somewhere in the middle. Definitely with the way modern films are, it definitely leans more towards Aliens, because everything's trying to be hyped up and epic and Um, definitely more towards Aliens. But again, I will say you could tell they were trying to get that first film's feel sort of captured and replicated. Visually, things looked pretty damn good. I was actually really impressed with like visuals and stuff. There were some times where it was hard to tell what you were looking at. Lighting was poor, or camera angles were a bit odd. Um, but that wasn't too often. Once again, a couple plot questions I have, but again, I can talk about that later. Again, this is apparently takes place after the first film, so after Alien, but before Aliens. So roughly the same time period that the 2014 came. Um, Isolation. Roughly that same time period is when this movie takes place, though I think it takes place a little before. Um, I could be wrong about that, actually. I could be wrong about that. But somewhere in there, somewhere in that 57-year gap where Ripley is out in hypersleep drifting, this film takes place. Um, What I did think they did good, although it really wasn't necessary, is some callbacks, nostalgia, honestly, nostalgia bait to older films, some lines that were said or some actions that were taken. Again, very much just calling back to the old films for nostalgia's purposes. Okay, cool. Dropping some Easter eggs for us, right? But did it really break the film? No. When they did that, did it really make it? Also, no. Just a nice little thing to see, I guess, for some of the older fans, or I consider myself older. Fans of the original stuff. I'm trying to think of like what to talk about without spoiling it. You know, I would just recommend it. If whether you're a diehard fan or just a casual fan, go see it. I do think it's better than Prometheus and that type of film, definitely. There is a bit of reference even to that as well. So there are some good tie-ins, I will say, with the original films and the Prometheus Covenant films, right? It does seem like if they keep making more of these, Romulus might be the beginning of finally tying everything together. And that is what it seems like they're starting to finally do, thank God, is they're finally starting to tie stuff together. Again, it's not all going to happen at once. It's going to be little pieces of information reading between the lines, and there are people better qualified at that than I am. But I think they're finally starting to do that. um, where are we at? We're only about 7 minutes in. Hmm. I think I'm gonna just put up a little warning here. Spoilers, okay? If you do not want spoilers, please, I'm gonna hold here for a couple seconds, click off the video, walk away. You've been warned, alright? Okay? So don't keep watching if you don't want to spoil it. Now, if you don't care, stick around. So, I'm going to start with my big plot question, okay? Final warning again for any people who don't want spoilers. Here we go. My question is okay, first we start the film right out the gate. They find the wreck of the Nostromo, which when I saw that, I kind of lost my shit, to be honest. I'm like, oh shit. But when they found the wreck, apparently it is now confirmed that the vacuum of space does not kill the xenomorph, because we see them find Big Chap, the original alien, cocooned, because in being in space, he basically went dormant and kind of like cocooned himself. Okay, fine. Interesting new information. But when they found him and brought him on board, and them being the company, how then, where did all the facehuggers come from? Right? I can only assume that he escaped. Obviously, he escaped. And then was able to grab a couple people and morph them. Similar to how we see in the deleted scene from Alien, how the crew is slowly getting, morphed into the eggs. I don't know if that happened, and then from there the facehuggers slowly multiplied before they killed it. That's the only way I can see it, unless there's some other detail in the film that I completely missed. Because what it sounds like they just found him. He woke up, broke out, killed a bunch of people, but then where did all these facehuggers come from? Right? Was there an alien queen on board? Because we see a bunch of the facehuggers, we see the victims and the many other xenomorphs that come from the victims. So, was there eventually a queen or not? You know what I mean? It's confusing. Um, how it got so bad on that station. I might look up a couple videos of myself uh, and see if somebody has that answer. But that's a question I pose: is how did the station get so infected? Was there a queen? What happened? You know, um, maybe we'll get some source material and interviews and fill it in the blanks. Who knows? Um, man, that's my big question, really. Now, past that, it's just breaking down the rest of the film, really. I'm not going to completely do a one for one breakdown, but just noticing some general things. We saw in Covenant that the infection, right, from facehugger all the way to chestburster and xenomorph was very fast. Orem, his name I think was Captain Orem. He was infected and boom, boom, boom. It immediately like the chestburster immediately came out of him. Like there was no delay the way we saw with Kane in the original. And we kind of also get that here. Like there's a bit of delay, but not as much. So again, it's like we're getting a transitional form of the xenomorph, but it's still. I honestly think this looks like the original. You know, um, but still slightly different in a way. I just can't quite put my finger on it because we see crew member get infected, like facehugger latches on, and within just a couple minutes, even though they find a way to take it off, she's infected and dies again a couple minutes later. So it's kind of like, unless those couple of minutes are actually time skips of, like, let's say half an hour, that would explain it, okay? But if it truly was just a couple minutes, then holy shit, that is fast. Faster than anything we've seen, really. You know, we're talking Alien Covenant, you know, the black pollen and goo type infection fast, which is impressive. Um, because yeah, that thing was on her for what we, the audience, see is just a couple minutes, and boom, she's infected. And a couple minutes later, boom, it's out and running away to molt again within just a couple minutes. So again, unless it's just a time skip of like, oh, it was actually 20 minutes. Oh, this was actually an hour, which I think is most likely. But I don't know, the way it just kind of was presented, it felt like, wow, that really happened fast. That really got out of hand. um, so yeah, there's that. The what else is there? The black goo does make a reappearance, right? That makes a reappearance towards the end, and it really adds a whole nother life cycle stage, or I guess alternate offshoot life form to the xenomorph life cycle, because we have like the protomorph, which was like Shaw getting partially infected and creating the big trilobite. That kind of created an offshoot branch. Here we get another one. There's a different lady who is already pregnant, right? So she's pregnant with a normal human child, but she gets horribly injured. And so out of desperation, she injects this like goo or an alternate form of it in hopes of healing herself. And it does heal her, but then that baby in her gets mutated to hell. Like, right, it gets really mutated. It grows fast. She goes from like a couple weeks pregnant to full term, and what comes out of her is basically like this weird. Again, you go see it, right? But the best way I can describe it is like if you combined the engineers with the xenomorph with humans. It's like everything got all combined, and it created a weird Nosferatu vampire looking thing. I kind of joked with my sister. I'm like, hey, it kind of looks like Voldemort if he actually had a nose. But looking at the head, like, it specifically did look like an engineer almost, but just horribly grotesque. But it was really weird, um, how that affected her. And even that whole thing kind of referenced the newborn from Resurrection in a way. Um, what else was there? Yeah, a few sequences. Again, just a few things that referenced older films. I'm not going to go too much into those. But overall, it kind of played, it did really play out a bit in the beginning like the first film, but then it really shifted its feel to the second film because you have going back to save someone, a shoot 'em up scene, and action, and this. So you do have that. You had a little bit of everything from the original films kind of put into this one. And I think in a way, it's a nice reboot. It's a nice breath of fresh air, without taking too many risks. I guess you could compare it to Star Wars, The Force Awakens. What episode? That's episode 7, right? A lot of callbacks, playing it safe. It's decent, not great. It's not taking too many risks. It's kind of what I get the feel with this film. It's mediocre, not terrible, but I had a good time watching it. And then, yeah, I don't know. There's not too much else to put onto this. It's just getting my initial thoughts out there. And I don't, again, want to spoil too much, right? But I just had to put those questions out there and kind of be like, wow, we got some added information, and the new life cycle stuff. There were some things I just didn't see before, didn't hear about how it develops, and like it cocoons itself when shedding and stuff. So it adds more info to that life cycle that we didn't really see before on screen, which I think is cool. It makes it a bit more believable, and it does really hammer home the whole insect hive type creature that it is. Um, yeah, I think that'll about do it. You know, but yeah, really, if anybody has an answer for that big question that I have about how it got so bad and out of hand, like what led up from, oh, we found a adult xenomorph that's fully developed, to it creating all the facehuggers, because it didn't look like a queen, unless again I missed a detail. So hopefully I'll find out eventually. But to wrap it up, decent film. It's not gonna, redefine the franchise really, but I think it'll finally tie some stuff together and get people back interested in it. You know, it'll start tying together things that we were asking in Covenant and Prometheus back to the originals. Hopefully, hopefully. But I would still recommend go out see it. And yeah, I'm going to bed now. And if you've seen it, let me know what you think in the comments below if you so happen to find this video. And if you do happen to find this video and you're still around, thank you for watching. I hope to catch you in the next one, whatever one that's going to be. I'm working on quite a few things. I hope to see you around. Peace.